Welcome to the University of Michigan Dentistry Podcast Series, promoting oral health care worldwide.
The Earth. It's something we take for granted. And yet, the Earth is full of mysteries. Scientists who study the structure, composition, and history of the Earth are called geoscientists. Why do they study something that seems so solid, stable, and seemingly unchanging? To help locate oil, natural gas, and other energy sources, or to determine patterns of erosion so that farmers can develop a planting strategy. Geoscientists study how the underlying rock will react when a bridge is built, or how our Earth compares to other planets in our solar system. They look at the Earth as a huge history book, offering a window on our past. Geoscientists work in many parts of the world and in many different environments. In mines, under the ocean, in rough, uncharted areas, or in offices. Many women have made a career of studying the Earth, and of the nearly 35,000 geoscientists in the United States, almost 12% are women. Meredith Jones Cecil works for the United States Geological Survey, a government agency. Meredith, who has her master's degree in geology, works specifically in the area of seismology.
The kind of work that I do is studying earthquakes, trying to understand why they happen, and so trying to therefore find some way to predict when they might happen in the future. And all of that is used for hazard analysis and planning in different cities. It's used for developing a format for what you would do if there were an earthquake, you know, what kind of rescue needs to be done, what kind of damages you would expect, and things like that. And basically the reason I like what I'm doing is that it's something that in the long run may save some people's lives. And the whole concept of earthquakes, I think, is also a little bit interesting, too. You know, that this world of ours, this Earth of ours, is moving. It's mobile. It's not a solid rock. It's not steady. It moves. Rocks break. You know, there are earthquakes that are a result of that. Specifically, what I'm doing is, right now, I'm looking at stream gradients in the Arkansas area, because there have been earthquakes that have gone on there now for over a year. A swarm of earthquakes have just continuously occurred, and no one really knows why they're happening. And we're trying to find out if there are any faults that are causing these earthquakes, and looking at streams and changes in the stream that are not caused by just differences in rocks. We may be able to pick out where some faults occur. I do a lot of work on terminals. I've done some digitizing of maps, you know, getting the latitude and longitude of points and information in. Other work that I do. I've had to store a lot of data on tape, so I go down to the computer room and we'll get tape information. There's very often consulting with other people, you know, talking about things that I'm doing, talking about things that they're doing. I really enjoy geology. And again, part of it's the idea of it as much as the actuality of it, because once again, I love being out in the mountains. I love studying why mountains occur, you know, that the Earth moves.
Many geoscientists find work in business and industry, especially the energy industry. Nancy Ann Brewster, an exploration geologist for Union Oil, tries to predict where new offshore oil and gas might be located. She has a master's degree in the geosciences and an additional master's degree in management. After exploration geologists are successful in discovering an oil or gas reservoir, production geologists take over and determine where to drill, how many wells to drill, and what types of methods can be used to recover the gas and oil. Bonnie Robinson is a production geologist for Superior Oil and is working on her master's degree in the geosciences.
My job is in exploration geology right now, and working for an oil company, the bottom line to what we do is drilling wells. So what we do specifically in my group is we make recommendations, and our final product is in the form of a recommendation, primarily a recommendation to drill an oil well or a gas well. It may also be a recommendation to acquire some land or to acquire some more data, for example, geophysical data. This is something that's very common. But our ultimate goal is to provide more oil and gas for the country, and because of the energy shortage and the crisis that we are experiencing presently, we are attempting to find new reserves in California and all over the world. In order to do this, I spend most of my day constructing maps and generating maps, and those may be in the form of contour maps which show the structure of underground sedimentary features. In studying marine sediments, I'm interested primarily in where the sand goes once it enters the ocean. Sand does not always contain oil. It can contain oil, water, or gas. And what we do is study from nearby wells to see what the nearby wells contain as far as their sand content. If you consider a bucket full of marbles, the bucket's full of marbles, and yet you can still pour fluid into the bucket. And this is much like the oil that's stored in sand. The fluid occupies the pore space.
I decided to change from exploration geology into production geology because I wanted to learn more about what happens after a discovery is made, you know, the process that's involved after that, because it's a whole nother aspect to it. I have to work very closely with the engineers, much more closely than I did in exploration. I have to do much more detailed studies and determine the best way to develop the field. In other words, where to drill next. Because you can have a discovery, and yet if you drill all around it in an unorganized way, you can come up with a lot of dry holes and just lose money on the whole deal. So you have to really be very careful in determining where to drill. We're very much involved with the economics in addition to the science. In the petroleum business, you know, there's something new every day. It's just not, it's never routine. You know, it varies anywhere from being in the office to being out at the well site.
The job of the geologist at the well site is a lot of fun, and it's a chance to do something where you see your prospects drilled. And often you'll spend 24 hours of the day and night at the well site because it's exciting. There are people there that perform specific functions, but the geologists in particular will be watching the sediments as they come up and perhaps making a log of their own of the types of ground-up rock that the drill bit is providing to the surface.
When we get a core out of the ground, we're examining it for the particular rock type that we're looking for. We're looking at the rock to see if there are any shows of oil in there. If you can look with a microscope or little hand lens at the pore space within the rock, which is airspace within the rock, this space can be filled with oil, hopefully, or with water, or just air. And so a lot of times you can see the oil seeping out of the core, if there's any oil there. You can see little fractures, little breaks in the rock that sometimes, where the oil is located sometimes also. I became interested in geology through an incident that happened when I was in 5th grade. I was going to school in Washington, D.C., in the city, and my teacher started a geography lesson and pulled down the map of the world and started talking about a theory called continental drift. And this theory, according to this theory, North America and South America were once connected in one giant landmass to Europe and Africa. And I started looking at that, and it was just like a puzzle. You know, especially Africa and South America. I mean, you could really fit that together like a puzzle. And two things really amazed me. One was that the Earth, which you think of as being real stable, I mean, that's your reference, was really moving, and we just couldn't detect it. And the time that was involved, the geologic time, the millions of years that would be involved for such a process to occur.
I was one of about 50 scientists that was invited to participate in an international symposium in Japan. And we were invited to present meetings, we were invited to present seminars that are concerned with offshore submarine rocks. There were scientists from all over the world, Germany, England, France, America, Japan, China, as well as Australia and New Zealand. We all participated for 8 days, and the symposium traveled around Japan, so we were able to get out in the field and actually sample some of the rocks. And it was an honor to be able to go. It was a lot of fun.
Geology is a fascinating subject. I mean, I liked all the sciences, but I didn't like one of them enough to really major in it. But with geology, I found that you study a little bit of biology, a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of physics, and some math, and engineering. You take all the sciences and you apply them to the earth, to the study of the earth. And that's what geology involves. And in my specific job, there's something new every day. It's never routine. I get to travel a lot. I get to look at different areas of the country. I get to be creative with geology, sit and use my mind and try to explain all the data that I have and have it make sense, make some logic out of it.
I haven't been offshore as the only woman, but often on an offshore cruise, I will be one woman among maybe 30 men, or on occasion there's been 2 women or 3 women among 20 to 30 men. This is also true when you're on an onshore rig. You may be the only female on the site. And as long as you conduct yourself in a professional manner, you're received in a professional manner, and I think that's what's important. I have a new position in Washington, which I'm going to occupy within a few months. The position is an appointment with National Science Foundation. Some of my duties as Special Assistant for Scientific Planning, which is my title, will be to act as liaison between the White House scientific staff and National Science Foundation. I'll also be interacting between other federal agencies which have scientific branches and National Science Foundation. I'll be doing some long-range planning as well as budget strategies and serving as an internal liaison between the different divisions of NSF and the director.
Geoscientists often travel all over the world to do their research, and some, like Dr. Tanya Atwater, travel to the bottom of the sea for their work. Tanya, a world-renowned scientist, is a professor of geological sciences at the University of California at Santa Barbara.
Some people would define me as an oceanographer, but really I'm just a geologist who happens to work in the ocean. And that's true of most oceanographers. There's no such thing, really. There are oceanographers who work on biology, oceanographers who work on water, waves and water, and I'm a geologist who works in the ocean. I really do 2 kinds of research, so it's really part of the same thing. Partly I work on the big aspects of plate tectonics. That's kind of the modern version of continental drift, working on how continents move around, and it turns out big pieces of the ocean move around too. In fact, they move around the fastest. It's a huge, huge plate in the middle of the Pacific that's zipping by geologically. The other aspect that I work on is seafloor spreading, which is the way the continents drift. When you like you probably noticed that Africa and South America fit together, and they've been slowly coming apart ever since. And the way they come apart is that it cracks right down the middle of the ocean, and new hot lava comes in and fills the crack. Then that cracks and new comes in, then that cracks and new comes in. So it ends up, the center of the Atlantic is very young, and it gets older and older out to the edges. So the other piece of research I do is to work on the very tiny details, not tiny geologically, of how that process works, how you make new ocean floor at the center there. And I've done it using cameras and special sonars that you tow near the bottom. And then recently I've been using the small submarine Alvin to go down and check out all the details and collect rock samples and hydrothermal waters. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. It's like going to Mars. Alvin, it's a very tiny submarine, which is what you want because that makes it maneuverable. And it's about 6-foot diameter sphere. And you cram in 3 people and lunch and all your gear and all your tape recorders and, of course, the whole life support system. And then you sink to the bottom of the ocean that everybody's crammed into and all your legs tangled up. And it's just should be miserable, but it's so wonderful out the window, you just don't notice it all. Just spend the whole time. You have to remember to talk into the tape recorder and record it all. There are cameras also taking pictures all the time, and we have cameras. It has sampling arms to collect rocks, and you know, I don't want to act like it's not serious business. It's very serious, but it's also very wonderful.
All geoscientists share an aptitude in and an interest in science and mathematics. They also share a natural curiosity about the Earth, its workings, and its origins. Sandy Carlson works for the Natural History Museum at the University of Michigan. Sandy conducts research on 3-million-year-old fossils while completing her PhD degree in paleontology.
Paleontology is the study of well, ancient life, basically, old life. There are a variety of things that I do in the lab. A lot of the work that I do in particular is with museum specimens that have already been prepared. So much of the work involves looking, observing, using the microscope. From that, I would either make a drawing of whatever it is I'm looking at or make measurements. You know, you'll happen upon a specimen that just has something amazing about it, and it just suggests a lot of interesting questions that then you have to figure out how you're going to go about answering them. So yeah, it is like working on a puzzle, a fun puzzle. I do love what I'm doing. I really do.
Although geoscience is a challenging and time-consuming career, women geoscientists are successfully able to combine a career with a family life. More and more companies are offering extended maternity leave, and some offer programs such as flexible hours or job sharing. Many working mothers rely on outside help, such as child care centers or full-time babysitters, and household responsibilities must usually be shared in a 2-career marriage.
When I had Tom, I really was just so happy having him, and I enjoyed him so much. It is important to try to keep up with the field, and that's why I'm working part-time. At least that's partly why I'm working part-time. The rest of it is, it's nice to be away from my son sometimes. You know, I need that break. He needs the break, too. He needs time to spend with other children. So I think my being back at work is helping things. There are some difficulties with it, too. I mean, time is a problem. Our house is not as neat as it would be if I were staying home 100% of the time, and our meals are not anything fancy and that kind of thing, but I think it's worth it.
I'm very supportive of Verity's career. She's as good a geologist as I am a physicist, I think. I have a little bit more experience, but that's just age difference. She makes more money than I do, and that makes life very nice. She enjoys what she's doing. She brings that enjoyment home with her. We share that enjoyment. We share each other's scientific careers. Very, very supportive of it.
very often young women come to me and ask me if it's possible to be a mother and a career person at the same time. And I'm always flabbergasted because no man would ask that question. They assume it'll get worked out. And it gets worked out for women too. Most of my women scientist friends all have children. And they work it out in amazing different numbers of ways, and sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's hard. But nobody wants an easy life, and that's boring. And so, in the ideal world at least, that's what I try to do with Yoshi, is set aside time that I'm really with him. And we read books and go to the zoo and all the things that other people do with their kids. I think that's the main thing I'd say, especially if you work hard and get a good degree and get a good professional career. You can buy lots of things. I mean, you can't buy love and that stuff, but you certainly can buy a clean house and a clean baby. You can do the loving part and let someone else do the work.
A young woman considering the geosciences should have logical reasoning skills, enjoy solving problems, and be able to visualize in 3 dimensions. If you like physical activity and being outside, geosciences is an excellent career choice. Preparation in high school for a career in the geosciences involves taking earth science, physics, and chemistry, in addition to 3 to 4 years of math. Courses in English and speech will prepare you for writing reports and making presentations. Courses in computer science and a foreign language are also recommended. The first 2 years of college usually consist of basic courses in the humanities, math, and the sciences, especially the geosciences. The last 2 years concentrate on advanced geoscience courses. Most geoscience students choose to go on to graduate school. Most working geoscientists possess a master's degree, which usually takes 2 years of study beyond a bachelor's degree. A PhD is required for teaching and conducting research at the college level, and usually requires 3 to 5 years of study beyond the bachelor's degree. While in school, many geoscientists take advantage of summer jobs, work-study programs, or internships in the field. These are important for gaining experience and making contacts in the job market. More information about school requirements and job opportunities may be found in the brochure accompanying this videotape.
Generally, you'll spend 20 hours in class, another 25 hours studying every week. So it keeps you pretty busy.
Special projects are probably what take up a lot of the time, especially coming to the end of the semester. You work on the computer many, many hours, sitting at a terminal. It's a lot of work.
One of the jobs I have as a professor at the university is to be an undergraduate advisor, and I'm the advisor of about 100 students. And I usually interview them when they first come in to be a major with us. And very often it's just the same experience that I had of taking one geology course and being so overwhelmed by it and finding it so wonderful that they just have to do it. And very often, and this is especially true for the women students, they come in really excited about geology and they just don't have the right background. They often come in as juniors, having suddenly discovered what they want to do, and they don't even have trigonometry. And it's just very hard to do at that point. So if I were going to advise a high school student how to get ready, that's the one thing I would say is to take lots of math. The truth is that it's absolutely essential. It's just like a language for science. And you just can't do it without it. You can't do it without it. And so to be even a reasonable geologist, you have to have a year of calculus.
I'll be honest, I felt a little bit odd being the only black woman geology major at the school, but I had a lot of support from the professors there and from my advisors there, very much, which is in some cases unusual. But they were extremely supportive, and also my parents were supportive, and the other black students at the school were very good also.
I had a summer job working in downtown Denver for a big petroleum company, and that was one of the most worthwhile things I've ever done, when I got done that summer, I decided, well, you know, this is the field that I'd like to be in the next 2 or 3 years. And it was good. I could have decided that it was not the field I wanted to be in that same summer just because I knew enough about it. School, you can't know in school what you're going to be doing when you get out. It's two different worlds. And, you know, that work experience tells you right there, am I going to be able to cut it in real life?
I'm particularly interested in how rocks react to what we do to them. If we're digging a tunnel through the rock, does the rock squeeze in on the tunnel? Does it expand outward? You know, what happens there? If you're going to put a tremendous load on a particular piece of rock, you know, is it going to be able to take it or not? And I'm involved now in things that measure what those rocks do. It's fun to be able to go out on the road, and you'll have a cliff up there, and you see these rocks in there, and you say, well, gee, you know, that's folded, just like Professor so-and-so said, when thus and such happens. So apparently thus and such happened right here. You know, look at that thing. It's really doing that. You know, it's not something you only hear about. You can actually walk out the door and see it. And that's the best part, you know, just doing it yourself.
The Geosciences, an exciting, challenging career. And the job outlook for women geoscientists is reported to be good, with most opportunities being in private industry. Geoscientists have the status of a professional and so earn good salaries. In fact, geoscientists with a master's degree often earn more than graduates with an MBA, a Master's of Business Administration. Besides all these benefits a career in geoscience offers, there's one more factor to consider. The geosciences are fun.
I really love geology. It's really fun. Geology is so much fun. It's just fun in how you do it. It's fun being in the field tromping around. I love to get dirty and sweaty. That's not very ladylike, but I love it. I love to hike and to be in the mountains and to see beautiful big things and beautiful small things. I have a kind of a wonder of just the magic of how the earth is put together. It just continually astounds me.
You've been listening to a presentation from the University of Michigan School of Dentistry, which is dedicated to supporting open learning and open educational resources. This recording is licensed under the Creative Commons. It may be reused and redistributed for nonprofit use. Please attribute materials to the University of Michigan School of Dentistry and redistribute under this same license. For more information on how this and other University of Michigan School of Dentistry recordings may be used, visit www.dent.umich.edu/license.